Hi, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to 2025. Happy New Year. Today I want to just chat about yarns. I want to talk about every single yarn that I knitted with in 2024 and my opinions, how they've lasted throughout the year, and I want to rank them. I want to do a big tier list. I love ranking things, and this is the sort of information that I always looked for as a beginner but found it quite hard to find because when I was just starting out, I was really overwhelmed with all the different yarn choices and how expensive some of them were, and there was just not enough information about how a yarn would look and feel after the project was actually finished and how well it washed and that sort of thing. So hopefully this will be useful as well as entertaining. I know Future Fibre did a semi-similar video. I think I watched it like a year ago and I was heavily inspired by that to do this. I'll link that in the description. I'm sorry about it being so dark. There is nothing I can do about it. It is 1 p.m. and I'm pre-filming this because while you're watching this, I will be on a beach, hopefully. But yeah, I've left it to the last minute and it's actually Christmas Eve. So we make the best of what we can, but hopefully it doesn't matter too much because I'm gonna like minimize myself and we're all gonna stare at this lovely big tier list. So let me explain my actual tiers. Top tier, we have She Is Very Important to Me. These are the yarns that I actually feel a little bit emotional about. Like, maybe it's not entirely rational, it's not really just to do with how the yarn feels, it's just I love this yarn, like I really love this yarn. Then we have A Very Nice Time. These are yarns that are good but I don't feel the same emotions towards but still deserve to be in a top tier category. Then I have Would Use Again. These are yarns that I would repurchase in some space or other. This is the line between repurchasing and non-repurchasing. I'd use them again, but they're not my favourites. Then we have Itch City. So this is a massive personal bias for me because I have very, very sensitive skin. And a lot of yarns that wouldn't be itchy on other people, I find very itchy. And it's ruined garments for me that I don't want to wear. I get really overstimulated when I'm itchy. I can't just sort of like sit through it. So if I knit something with a wool that I don't think will turn out itchy and then it turns out itchy, I've got like a personal vendetta against this wool. And this is a tier specifically for those yarns, well, specifically wools. Take this with a grain of salt. If you have completely different sensitivity, you can ignore this. The yarns will probably be fine for you. Anything with the word rustic in it, I avoid like the plague. That's got nothing to do with me. I need only the silkiest, softest. I don't care about your Norwegian wool. It's nothing to do with me. It's none of my business. I think I've got about the same level of skin sensitivity as a newborn child and I'm easily overstimulated. I'm gonna shut up, but you get the picture. Then the last tier is not my best decision. This is where my other bias comes in and this will play a part. I am anti-synthetic fibres. I know they have their place. I don't mind synthetic blends sometimes, but this is something that I've learned over the past year, and my first real year of knitting, is I need to be staying on the path of natural fibres, and it's something that I've learned and relearned, and hopefully now I'll commit it to memory. But yeah, some yarns are not for me for various reasons, but a big part of that reason is synthetic fibres. I think they're sweaty. I don't want to be making something that has the same composition as something that I could buy on Shein for £5. Natural fibres can be in the same price point. So yeah, that's that, and that's the ranking. So let's start. We've got 13 yarns in here, and I've not included any yarns that are whips. So anything that I haven't yet finished is not on the list, which has narrowed it down quite a lot because I have like 6 whips on at the moment. First wool is the King Cole Merino Blend DK, specifically in the colour Graphite. I knitted my first jumper this year with this. It was like my second ever jumper, and I bought this wool at a time that I had just no idea what I was doing. I spent so much time on wool websites, I got really overwhelmed and I was just like, screw it, I'm gonna get this wool. It looks the right colour and it is what it is. I had a good knitting experience with it. It was easy to work with, but the garment stretched quite a lot after I blocked it, especially the collar. The collar was perfect before blocking, even just a little bit too tight, and after blocking the collar, it was just massive. I know I could put elastic in it, but that's not the point. It's also a little bit itchy, so I definitely wouldn't use it again. It was cheap yarn, but I think for the price I could get better. So I'm gonna put this in not my best decision. Harsh start, I know. By the way, if you want to see any of the items that I knit using these yarns, I did a Everything I Knit in 2024 video, so you can go watch that. Next, we have Woolcraft Baby Lux DK in the shade Apple. I made my first crochet project with this, and it was 50% bamboo, I think 50% polyamide. It is very, very, very soft and have absolutely no issues with itching on it. I really like the feeling of it, and I think it's machine washable. I haven't actually washed that garment because I never wore it because I hate the colour. It was a really nice yarn to learn to crochet with because it wasn't splitty at all, and it was very soft on the hands. Unlike other plant fibres, it was like decently stretchy. I'm gonna put this in wood use again because I think that this type of yarn does have its place, and I can see myself getting it or something with this same composition as it for another project, just certainly not in that colour. But that's my own bad. Like, I saw the colour with my own eyes and I was like, yeah. And then 2 weeks later I was like, nope. So that's on me. Next we have Drops Bell. I knitted an entire tank top with this, with a few colours of this, and I did some colour work with it. It was a great yarn to use. I used this yarn before I ever used any 100% cotton yarns. This yarn is a cotton linen viscose blend, and it's a DK weight. And I didn't realise how hard cotton could be on your hands. This is so much less hard on your hands than 100% cotton is. It's also completely machine washable. I accidentally washed that garment on like a cotton 40-degree cycle and it turned out fine. It didn't change shape with blocking at all. I would definitely use it again. The one thing that kind of puts me off using Drops Bell an awful lot is that the colour range is not that great. There are a few really nice colours. I think I used the pearl colour, or is it pearl white? And it's a really nice off-white shade, but I wanted to make something red. And I bought the cherry shade from Drops Bell and ended up having to send it back because it was just like pink. They don't do any red shades, I think. I do want to say I am currently making a project with King Cole Linen-Dale, which is the same composition and it feels the same on the hands and to knit with, and they have a slightly different colour range. I haven't finished the garment, I haven't washed the garment, I don't know if it's going to wear the same, but I think they're kind of the same. Drops Bell is slightly cheaper. Drops Bell is like £1.80 per bowl, and I think I used like 3 or 4 bowls to make a tank top, so super affordable, little bit splitty, but not to a point where it actually impedes you doing your work. So I'm going to put this in a very nice time. Next we have Sustengren fingering weight cotton. I think they call it something like 8-4 cotton or something like that. I made a crochet top with this cotton and it kind of has the same qualities as the Drops Bell, but it's 100% cotton, so it is harder on the hands to work with, but it doesn't stretch at all with blocking or washing. It's very affordable. I think it's under £3 a bowl. The one thing that I again will say about this is the colour range is not great. The colours are very primary coloured, I'd say. Like the white is a pure white and the black is a pure black. They have one shade of beige, no other neutrals. It's quite hard for me to find the right colour there. So I'm going to put it in wood use again, mainly because the colour scheme really puts me off, and also because it hurts my hands. I would only choose it for specific projects and probably only smaller projects too. Next we have Wool and the Gang Feeling Good yarn. I knitted a sweater with this and a beanie with this. The sweater is one of my most worn knitted sweaters this year. The yarn is a worsted weight blown yarn. I think it's an alpaca blend. This is quite an expensive yarn. Wool and the Gang's prices are a lot steeper than some other yarns that I know that are the same sort of composition. I haven't finished knitting a project with Drops Air, but from the start it feels like a very similar experience. The knitting experience is really nice with this yarn. It's super soft on the hand, super stretchy, and it's thick enough that when you knit with it the project comes along really quickly, which I really enjoy. I find that really satisfying. It is the tiniest bit itchy on me, but it is under the this is a sensation I don't enjoy barrier. So probably for most people it would be completely fine, and for me it's just on my most sensitive areas, like the inside of my elbow where I can feel it tickling sometimes. If I wear a long sleeve thermal with that jumper it's completely fine, and it's not too itchy for me to be put off by it. But then it is quite expensive, and I would very likely choose other yarns over this. So that's why it's not going into the top tier for me. So I think it belongs in a very nice time. I love the garment, I love the yarn, but yeah, the price point is very steep. Next we have Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk. If this isn't your first video of mine, then you probably know my relationship with Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk. I have made a cardigan and I made a sweater with this in 2024. The cardigan was holding one strand and the sweater was holding 2 strands of it together. I love the color range of this. I love the price. It's super affordable. It's, if you're used to knitting with a mohair, it is a similar level of fuzziness, but it's a bit thicker and it's so much softer. I had a really good experience knitting with both of those garments, and I love wearing them too. They did stretch a little bit with blocking, and I did account for that in making the pattern. Like, I made the sleeves and the hem a little bit shorter, but they haven't stretched out with wear, and especially the sweater I've worn quite a lot. I would definitely use this again. I would very happily knit a normal sweater and have this as my replacement for a mohair, especially for the price. I think that they're under £3 a ball. The colour range is perfect. I have nothing bad to say about this. It is definitely in She Is Very Important to Me. Next we've got Drops Fable, which is a bit of a tricky one. So I knitted myself a vest top from Drops Fable. Drops Fable is a fingering weight sock yarn. It's 75% wool with 25% polyamide. And I thought, because it was a sock yarn and because in the Drops website it says it's suitable for baby garments, that it would be soft. And it's not. It's a little bit scratchy, and for a next to skin vest top, it completely like ruined the garment for me. I find it unwearable because it's too itchy. Like, it breaks me out in a rash if I try. So that really put me off it. But it is a sock yarn, and for Christmas I knitted my dad a pair of socks with one of the colours that is kind of it's more than self-striping. It creates more of a detail than just stripes. It's really beautiful, and they have a few colorways like that. I think the color selection is really good for Drops Fable, and the price is really good as well because it's Drops. And I had a really good experience knitting the socks with that yarn. He isn't super sensitive. The socks feel very substantial, and I would use it again to gift knit socks. I would not use it again for myself. So I'm gonna put this in Itch City because for myself, and I do knit most things for myself, that's where it belongs. But as a caveat, it does work as gift knit for other people. I think I would probably buy other yarns in future, just because I think there are ones at a similar price, maybe £1 or 2 more, that would feel a bit softer with the same composition. But the colour range is really nice. If you are not sensitive and you want a nice cheap sock yarn, I would recommend this. Next we've got King Cole Forest Recycled Aran. This is an Aran weight yarn, and I knitted a pair of socks with this about a year ago as a gift knit. This is a blend of fibres. I think it's about 30% wool and the rest of it is other synthetic fibres. The sock came up really quickly because it was Aran weight yarn and I was in a rush, but I would not recommend this yarn at all. It was super cheap. I think I got it on eBay for under £3, £4, but it feels really dry to work with, and I've subsequently found this with other synthetic fibers, that as well as the finished object not feeling as nice as natural fibers, the knitting experience isn't that good either. Like, I felt like I wanted to put hand cream on all the time while I was knitting with this, and it was just, yeah, a bit splitty, not as stretchy as wool is, and I'd wish that I spent maybe like £2 more to get a nicer yarn. So I'm gonna put this in not my best decision. Next we have Drops Flora. I held this alongside SAR Cashmir Marino silk to make a top, and I think the Drops Flora made the top itchy. The SAR Cashmir Merino silk is so soft to the touch. There is no fuzziness, there's no fluffiness. I don't think that that would be an itchy fibre to work with at all, but the Drops Flora did feel a bit rough on my hands, so I'm blaming it for making that top unwearable for me. It's a fingering weight yarn. I think it's like 100% wool. It's dropped, so it's super cheap, but this is going in Itch City. I wouldn't choose to work with this again. While we're on the topic of that top, let's just rate SAR Cashmir Marino silk while we're here. I would work with this again. I think it's very well priced for the fibre composition. It's a DK weight. I don't think they had the best colour selection, but I did buy it from Wool Warehouse. They may have a bigger colour selection elsewhere. Composition of the fibres feels really nice. It's not at all splitty, and I do wish that I'd used it on another project so I could really get a sense for what it feels like on the skin. So I'm going to put this in I'm going to put this in would use again, because I don't think I have enough information to move it up another one. Next we have Drops Alaska. This is another wool yarn. This is a worsted weight. I bought this to do some duplicate stitch, and I knew it would be itchy when I bought it, but I didn't listen to that part of my brain because I wanted cheap yarn to do duplicate stitch with. And even just doing the duplicate stitch, I can feel where that part is on my body because it's so much itchier than the rest of it. So this was not my best decision. It is very affordable. It's nice to knit with. I think the colour scheme is really nice. It's very muted colours, but not my best decision, definitely. Next we have Rico Creative Cotton Camouflage. This is 50% cotton, 50% acrylic. I knitted my blouse number 1 with this. It comes in a big 200-gram ball for I think just under £20, so not that cheap. It's also a self-striping yarn, and I bought this at a time where I was really intrigued by self-striping yarns. I let myself get influenced, and I started off with a very big project, which wasn't my best decision, and that is where this yarn goes. I do not want something that's 50% acrylic that skin tight on me. I don't love the colours of the self-striping yarn. I did at the time that I bought them, but then by the time that I finished the blouse number 1, I didn't. But it's machine washable. It didn't stretch at all with blocking. It was fine to knit with. It wasn't like a great experience. It wasn't a bad experience. It didn't hurt my hands. But I'm going to put this in not my best decision. I wouldn't buy this again. And if I could go back and tell myself which yarn to use when starting my blouse number 1, I would definitely have recommended a wool blend. But we live and learn. We are already on to the final yarn, and if you've watched any of like my last 5 videos, this will be no surprise of where I'm going to put this. This is the Hobby Unicorn Solid in the shade Dark Red. It is a fingering weight yarn. It is 75% merino wool, 25% polyamide. I knitted my breezy long sleeve sweater with this, and I absolutely adore it. This is it going straight in. She is very important to me. I really love this yarn. The experience, even holding it double, was completely effortless. It didn't hurt my hands even when I was knitting for very long periods of time. It stretched just the right amount with blocking, like not too much, but just loosened up the way that you would expect. And since then I've worn that sweater loads. It's not pilled at all. I mentioned that I was scared I was seeing a little bit of pilling. it wasn't pilling and it's fine. I've worn it an awful lot. It's looking good. The wool is superwash yarn, but I love that garment way too much to risk putting it in the washing machine just yet. So I am still hand washing it and it still looks as good as the day that I finished it. So that's my final ranking. I'm very happy with this. I learned a lot of lessons this year as it was my first real year of knitting, and I am excited to have a few go-to yarns to come back to, and also that I've got some cost-effective options in there. Like in my top two, we've got the Drops yarn, which is super affordable. The hobby yarn I think is about £10 or £11 per skein, but I only used 4 skeins to make my entire sweater. So £40 for a really wonderful garment is something that I'm really happy to pay. So yeah, there we are. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what your favourite yarn that you used in 2024 was, in case I want to try it, unless it is rustic, in which case tell me another one that you liked. I hope you're having a wonderful day and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!